All right, Ronjo, give me a test.
Test, test.
Aha. Aha. Can you guys hear us? All
There we
right.
go.
Okay. Stupid Windows update. All right, let's start over. This is Guido. This is actually good because I had a misspeak that needed to not happen.
Yes.
I have no idea why I did that. This is Guido coming at you with a coffee talk. And we have Aranjo Man / Mimi Big Boy is the guest pilgrim in here. And we're going to have a good chat because we've got an expert in the competitive scene. So if any of you guys have ever been interested in that, we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to get into conspiracies because we're going to talk about cheating because everyone in World of Tanks is cheating, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
of
the whole. Actually,
Yeah.
we've got some info on that, which is kind of interesting. But no, not everybody is cheating. How's everybody doing this morning? Wayne, how you doing? Stickler, we got just around midnight. Odd Dogs in the house. Randall Green. Right on, guys. So now, you don't have a coffee for a good reason.
Yes, because I haven't slept yet. And it is currently 8 a.m. So I've been up for almost... Actually, it's been significantly past 24 hours at this point.
You're like that college kid that got to 6 a.m. in the bar and just said, I'm just going to go to class. I'm not even going to go to sleep.
Basically, yes.
Is that basically what we've done here, the streaming version of that?
That's exactly what we've done.
All right, so Aranjo's going to be a little punch drunk, but he's going to stick with it and then hit the sack as soon as we're done right here. So thanks, everybody, for coming around, and thanks to Aranjo Man coming in. That's awesome. Channel news, guys, what do we got going on? I'm still working the 100 Battle Challenge. Just finished up the Super Chaffee. Got it 2 marked at 100. And thought I might get to 3 mark, but that would take a little work. So what I'm doing, Aranjo, is I'm taking every tank from tier 5 and above and getting 100 battles in it.
All right, nice. That's not bad. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I'm probably halfway through them, actually, quite a few. So that's been a lot of fun because it makes me play tanks that I've played a few times and put them down. Next one up is the IS-3A, so the tank that destroyed the game.
Yes.
Yeah, except it didn't. Let's see. Next stream, guys, probably tomorrow for the charity on Stack Up. I don't know if I'll be able to do a standard stream tomorrow, so we're going to do the charity from 4 to 6 Central. And then I'm on vacation, fellas, and there will be no live coffee talk on the 18th and 25th. We'll be back on the 1st of August with Pilgrim and myself. Pilgrim's on vacay right now. I'm assuming he's having a good time on the coast of England, staring across the channel on his pebbly beach, which I can't support pebbly beaches, but there you go. Remember, coaching is available. Contact me at guido@1212gaming.com. All right, that's enough of that crap. Let's talk missions and specials. All right, Aranjo, do you want to help me shill?
Yes, sir, of course.
All right,
that's my favorite pastime.
Yeah, well, this is how I get paid. Wargaming gives us all this money to shill. That's another thing that happens.
Yes, of course. Multi-millionaires over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's go over to the old World of Tanks setup here, and we'll jump into the premium shop, guys. I looked at it earlier. The TL1 LPC Pretty Fly package is back.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're into the Offspring thing. Do you like the Offspring, Aranjo?
Honestly, I've never listened to the actual music itself.
Really?
I'm more of a what was it called? What was the Prima Victoria sale for?
Oh, Sabaton.
Sabaton. I'm more of a Sabaton fan myself.
Okay,
so.
more of a Sabaton guy. There you go.
Yeah.
What do you think of the TL1?
Honestly, the tank itself, for at least American mediums, is actually quite solid. I would personally say it's one of the best American medium crew trainers for Tier 8. For its price, I mean, the cheapest price itself for $44 USD, so it's not a bad tank at all. It might be a little bit costly for the price, but if you really want like one of the best American medium crew trainers for like an M48 pattern or something, that is probably your best bet to go for.
I would agree. I like that tank pretty well. Good depression, decent turret, lots of speed to get around, fairly accurate gun, hits decently hard too. So, yeah, not a bad tank. We got some exclusives out here, guys, with the Kanonen Panzer. Now remember, some of these things are for people that have Prime Gaming, so I will see sometimes things you don't see if you don't have Prime Gaming or the veteran thing going on. But the Kanonen, the STA-2, Kanonen is about as good as you get for a casemate in this game. If you're going to drive a casemate premium, that's probably the one you're going to want to drive.
Yeah.
Really accurate gun, lots of speed. Zero armor. The thing about the Kanonen that's awesome is how fast that shell travels. I think it's one of the fastest shells in the game.
Yeah, it's like what was it? 15, almost 1800.
Almost
Something like
1800.
that?
Yeah, it's 17
Yeah,
and some change. I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
hits where you aim. As far as anything does in this game, that's one of the tanks that hits more or less where you aim.
Yep.
You still get the random stuff off to the edge, but that's World of Tanks and why we love it. SCA 2 as well. That's kind of a sleeper. It's better than people think. The Type
Yeah.
62 Tier 7 is a lot of fun for a light tank. It did not get a nerf when they did the big change some years ago. So it's actually a Tier 7.5, quite honestly.
Oh yeah.
VK 4503 is in there. The 100Y, if you like dropping 400 on people, but being as slow and unarmored as possible. Let's see, 1357, same thing as the Type 62. So you get the picture. And then there's the IS-3A, the tank that destroyed the game.
Personally, I think the AMX 1357 is one of the best buys. An amazing XP farmer, and also if players are looking for a farming win rate as well, doing like what I think it's 1.5k damage and 2 kills gets you 3k win rate on that tank.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it is super easy to farm win rate with the 1357.
And you can, a lot of people say, well, you just got to load full gold on it. Because of its mobility and how fast it fires, you can get behind people and beside people and start pumping those shells in there, and you don't have to carry all gold on it, actually.
Yeah. And it's also a lot of fun to play with the rate of fire during inner clip shells. Yep. Oh my god! One of my my favorite Tier 7, most enjoyable 3-mark on that.
Yeah, there you go. That's one for just raging around.
Yes,
gold, not much going on in the gold stuff. Premium count, same thing. We'll jump over to vehicles here because you got to have featured vehicles and specials. I've never figured that out. I guess I get vehicles. That's just vehicles.
Yeah.
But featured and specials, that cracks me up. Often it's the same. Sometimes it's different. There's the Offspring stuff. Looks like you can still get the old Pretty Fly 3D style, I believe it is. And I'm assuming the crew members come with it as well. Is that fact?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do come with it.
Yeah, and they got the crew voiceover, which is kind of funny at first, but it can be quite grating, actually, after a while.
Yeah.
At least for me, because they're always telling their little jokes and stuff. I don't know. You know who the best voiceover is, in my opinion?
No.
Cabbage Mechanic. Do you have his?
Really?
Do you have his?
No,
commander?
I was on Commander AF's team.
Yeah, Cabbage actually did a nice job. I enjoy playing the. I don't remember what I put him in, but this cracks me up, man.
I need to go back. There's a few videos where it shows the audio clips of it. I need to go listen to his recordings.
Yeah, one of them is I think on Achilles. He goes, "Have fun in the garage, noob."
That's very good. That's funny.
Dude, it's awesome. All right, let's see. We got Renegade. We got the Centurion 5-1. These are all exclusives, so I think these again are probably Prime Gaming things. And that's it, I think, other than specials. Now you can buy the match day stuff. It is, as we talked about last week, the big match day package. I think it's on the other page. The big match day package is $75 for $75 worth of gold. Here it is. So it's $74.52. You get 18,000 gold, which is basically $75 worth of gold, and then you get the 360 fuel or mile. Yeah, it's fuel actually, not miles. For the
highway.
Thank you, Highway Rock event, which ends today, by the way, guys. So you do have, I think, another week to get your prizes. And then that is a good segue because what I want to do now is talk about specials and stuff. But we're going to jump into, as soon as I figure this out, into the UI here. Because once you say what you want from Highway Rock, fellas, you've got to go to your depot. And you've got to go to the little parachute. And you've got to go in here and pick your equipment, if you pick the equipment one. So you could get up to 3 pieces of equipment. I didn't realize this.
Oh, what, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yeah, so it was, if you go over to Highway Rock, let's do that real quick. There it is. If you go over to Highway Rock, bring Chrome back up. Down here, the Highway Rock reward, and this is what I didn't realize what was going on, it's 1 piece of equipment and items remaining 2. So you could do it 3 times. And it looks like, see, this is what was driving me crazy on this. It said 360 fuel. I think it's really 120 per one, or so, I don't know. I couldn't really figure it out. But anyway, if you say grab it, which I can't because I don't have enough anymore, I spent them all, then you've got to go in here to your depot, folks, and pick the one you want. And you can see you got till the 1st of August. Sorry, July. August. It's July right now. So the 1st of August to pick your piece of equipment. So don't forget that. That's always tricky. A lot of these events have that kind of stuff buried in it.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is like hidden in the background where you have to really have a keen eye to be able to claim your prize.
By the way, did you know match day is the same way?
Really?
Somewhat. Watch this. So match day, and we talked about this last week, but guys, let's do it again because it's getting towards the end. We've got the England-Italy final. We'll talk about that in just a second. But remember, when you come down here to the rewards, mine say received, but when you hover over it says take it or gathered or whatever hell. You have to click on that to get it. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea about that.
Have you done match day?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
That completely went over my head entirely. I saw the post about it, and I honestly saw like a paragraph of text, and I was just like, 4 a.m. I was just too tired to read it, so
well, that's pretty common actually, man. People, and that's one of the gripes about these separate web page things that are overlaid on top of the game, and it's not in the UI.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, too long, didn't read. And people say that. You know what? I don't care. I don't want the thing. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, they look cool. I feel like it's like a, in the boardroom, it must sound like a great idea. When it comes out to the public, it's just so much reading, so much little details. You just I want to shoot the red thing and get funny rewards,
Yeah. We've had this discussion multiple times, and these extra web pages. I always get, like you said, in the boardroom. I always get the idea that maybe it's the web page designer guy, and he's like, "Hey, I got an idea. Let me design this cool web page."
Yep.
And it's the Tail Wagon the dog. Pilgrim is in the house from the pebbly beach. He's cooking a duck. I think is what happened here. The good-looking guy is a Oranjo man.
Yes, sir.
All right, explain that though, so we can get that out to everybody. Mimi Big Boy is the World of Tanks in-game name.
Yes, so Oranjo Man is technically a brand, and Mimi Big Boy is the person who is in charge of the brand.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I organize it. Usually, people who know me or who watch my streams often, they would just call me Mimi to simplify it.
Okay.
A very manly name, calling me Mimi. But other than that, most people just refer to me as Oranjo Man, as a formal way.
Okay, so I'm going to get this while I'm thinking about it right here. We're going to grab your link because I don't have that right now. So here's here's Oranjo Man's Twitch, guys. Now, do you have a YouTube?
That I cannot say because I have a project in work. So
okay. Oh, a little reveal, huh? So
yeah, little bit of a reveal, but
so reading between the lines, the answer is yes. It's on the way. All right, nice, man. Good. Well, let us know when that happens or doesn't.
Exactly. I don't even know.
There you go. Oh, that's all. That'll be cool, man. That'll be good.
Yeah.
All right, so there's the link down there for that, fellas. So let's jump back into the match day stuff. So remember, you've got to pick those. All right. What else we got going on here?
I'm currently looking through the...
Stug Life is the weekend special. That's your standard weekend, some crew XP and whatnot going on. Nothing really...
Mostly just repair kits, fire extinguishers,
Yep.
some bomb decals. Nothing too much, but ends on the July... Or actually, it ends tomorrow, July 12th.
Yeah, then usually it's actually ends tonight kind of idea because they always...
Yeah. Realistically, I don't think very many people will be staying up till 4:20 Pacific times.
No. The 60 TP is on track. We talked about Highway Rock. And to be quite honest, right now we're in another little lull, I think, in events.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just me personally, but I always feel like, wargaming has kind of like this way of like, a very quiet lull and then just so much content dropped on you at once.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you get overwhelmed. Like like a week ago, there was like 3 different things that came out. Rank came out, the highway thing came out at the same time, and like there was so many, ×4, ×5, credit sale. It was just insane. And then now it's kind of like you're waiting for another week of just like, okay, well, that all happened at once. Now what do I do?
It's kind of like you're on the one hand you complain that there's too much crap going on, and it's too frenetic, and then when there's the lull, you're like, well, hey, where's the stuff? Where's
exactly? If they just it's like butter and toast. You just got to spread it out a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just have a whole stick of butter in the middle of it.
Wait a minute, a stick of butter in the middle of the toast? That sounds pretty dang good.
like the deep fried buttered sticks at the carnival fair.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe people eat that.
Sparky CJB, thanks, man. And I miss Nanosecond, who subscribed. Thank you so much. Appreciate Nano. Awesome, man. Welcome. All right. What else we got going on here? Moving windows around. Pretty Fly. Pretty Fly is the TL1 LPC. That's the code for Commander AF. We'll get you a 3-day rental of an LPC, some boosters, and a mission for some, I think, octane of some kind. Some fuel.
Yeah.
We talked about match day. Highway Rock ends today. Match day, I think, ends today. The game, I believe, is tonight. So who do you have, man? For England? Is it Italy? England, Italy.
Personally, when it comes to the actual match, I haven't signed up and done the whole thing in the wargaming, but when it comes to the actual soccer match itself, I'm going for England. I'm not too big of an Italy fan.
No.
Originally, I was going to go for Germany. I was really rooting for Germany at the start, but now I just want to make sure that Italy doesn't get the finals. I want to make sure that.
That's definitely going to upset Pilgrim because he's a huge Italy fan.
Oh no, we're gonna have an argument there.
I'm actually poking him right now because he's English all through and through.
I see. Really?
Yeah, he'd rather stab his eyes out than go for Italy. Stickler picked Poland. Yeah, good plan, man. They could win. It could be a comeback of some kind. Yeah, I got England too. So 1:30. It looks like somebody put it into chat there. 1:30 Central. Excellent. So we'll be able to see the match today. That's my plan, man. That's my plan. Because I mowed the lawn 2 days ago. I'm so proud of myself. I mowed the lawn. I knew. So I'm going on a trip. Yeah. You mowed the lawn. That's awesome. The reason I'm proud of myself is we're leaving on a trip on Wednesday for 2 weeks, going to Utah to our family cabin. And I knew I had to mow it once before I left. Otherwise, it would be a total jungle. It was pretty bad anyway. But it's going to be 3 weeks in Florida, which is going to be rough when I get back.
3 weeks in Florida.
Yeah, 3 weeks of grass growing in Florida. I'm going to Utah.
Yeah, of course.
So my lawn was going to be a freaking jungle from hell, and that was going to suck. So, but I kept thinking, well, I don't want to do it, and then I just freaking did it.
May I ask, have you guys had any? I'm assuming you guys had a lot of rain recently from the hurricane, right?
We got mist.
Mist?
Yeah, it went east of us. It went up Here's the funny thing about Florida. When people think about Florida, they often forget the panhandle piece.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm lower Alabama. We're on the panhandle piece, and it went up the peninsula and missed us. Thank goodness.
Yeah. North Carolina got hit real hard with rain, really, really bad.
So that one was a real rain event as opposed to too much wind, which is.
Yeah, it wasn't that much wind, but I spent a good while just going through puddles when I was driving by. It was very annoying.
So it did get to you then.
Oh yeah. I live more east coast of North Carolina, so closer to the shores. Okay. So it was quite a bit of wetness, I guess you would say, around me.
How is North Carolina, man? I hear it's just really beautiful.
It's a college state. There's a lot of young people here. Yeah. The cities are growing a lot, especially the Raleigh Triangle area. Yeah. It's lovely. It's just it's not loud. At the same time, it's not too quiet. It's, I live a lot in the forest, so it's very relaxing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's someone saying that's why Guido is central and not eastern. That surprises people a lot. So they'll say, "Wait a minute, you're central. I'm about 10 miles, 15 miles from where it breaks from eastern to central."
I see.
Central time zone goes from basically here, which it's a little town called Mexico Beach, but Panama City all the way to El Paso. That's a long ways.
Yeah, that's
when it's it's crazy. When it's 0600 light here, that's over there. That's still dark.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
China's one time zone.
The whole country.
The whole country is one. It's one time zone.
It's great for uniformity, but I feel like that would cause a little bit of issues here and there for scheduling things.
Well, same thing. 0500 on the East Coast is light wise is very different than 0500 over in the west of the country.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And the funniest one, I teach this class that covers this to the young lieutenants. Part of an aviation thing. We talk about the time zones. North Korea, within the last about 5 or 6 years, shifted their time zone 30 minutes.
Really? For the whole country, or
just for the whole country, for North Korea, they just because they could.
It's better than Australia. I'm pretty sure each time zone is divided by 30 minutes, right? So it's like 30-minute difference for Australia's time zones.
I don't know how. I think Australia has 3. And I don't.
It's either.
Is it 30? Yeah.
It's 30 minutes.
Well, it's and it's all basically the Earth rotates 15 degrees an hour. That's the number for the 360. So 350 or 24 times 15 ends up being 360 degrees. So 15 degrees every hour is how far it rotates. So in theory, if you could do a time zone every 15 degrees of longitude, then it would be very uniform across the globe. But that's not how humans roll.
Sadly, no. That is not.
So back to tanks here. That's back on coffee talk, time zone talk. 3D styles. I was looking at, we'll get to Harkonnens thing in a minute, but I was looking at one of the other blogs, and there was a note that the RU has this 3D style that we don't have.
For which tank?
I'm going to try to find it here. It is for the...
Wait, can I make a guess?
Sure.
Okay. Is it for the... it's the Russian, the Object 274A. Is it for that tank?
No.
No.
It was a surprise now that I've just found it. It's called Polar Star for the G-SOR. Do we have that?
The G-SOR? No, we do not have that. For
Polar Star. Here's what it looks like. Called up on Chrome for you. That's it.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's on RU.
Yeah, so it says it's now available for purchase in the RU Premium Shop, and I'm pretty sure this is for tanks and not console because this looks like Minsk.
Yeah, no,
that looks like our model, and that's a Minsk map or whatever. And with bundles from €9 to €64. I didn't realize that they ever got anything that we didn't get. That surprised me.
The reason why I said the Object 274 is because actually there was rumors that Russia was also getting that 3D style as well, and I didn't even believe that there was a 3D style that existed until I Googled it. If you go into Google Images right now, you can actually see a 3D style for that tank. It looks extremely well, and it's like they actually have quite a bit of 3D styles that they're in the background of the game clients that people haven't realized that were there until people started looking around.
Yeah, you guys do know how to get in there. Sparky, it's I'm actually at Eglin. Eglin, goodness gracious. That's what happens when we get freaking old. Tyndall. I'm at Tyndall teaching young lieutenants, Air Force lieutenants. Yeah, but good guess, though. Pensacola is close, and that's not a bad guess. Of course, in the Air Force, a lieutenant is the first rank. A lieutenant in the Navy is actually our captain in 03.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's ensign, JG, and ensign. Yeah, butter bars exactly for our lieutenants, second and first lieutenant. All right, cool. Let's see. I think that's it for shilling and deals and such. So let's get into subjects du jour. So we had a great conversation actually right before we
Yes.
came on, and so Aranjo, as I've been saying several times, has a lot of experience in the competitive side, the clan wars, top level stuff, all the three marking, everything that goes, all that kind of stuff. We had a great conversation, which was started with first the clan wars thing. So let's start with that. You're saying that everyone's like in a bit of a kerfuffle trying to figure out what's going on with the next clan wars event.
Yeah. So for people who aren't very aware, there are a lot of rumors going around that there is a new campaign coming up that will include the Chieftain. Now, there's two different categories. People, well, technically three. People who have the Chieftain and don't want the Chieftain to come out because if there's more Chieftain players, that means there's more competition for them. There's another category of people who don't have the Chieftain and don't want more players to get the Chieftain because that means more Chieftain in pubs and, more people saying like, hey, because even I believe, I have a Chieftain myself, I think the Chieftain is kind of overpowered itself. So it's, a little bit of a
So what do
controversy.
you personally think about more or less of them? What do you think's the fix to it? Let me ask you that.
Honestly, at this point, the Chieftain's in the game. If you nerf it, the top players are going to get extremely upset,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that will basically destroy the entire competitive scene. If you give it to everyone, then any like tech tree tank would kind of be, slammed out of the park. So it's kind of, it's not a. There's no real win-win situation. It was kind of like Wargaming made a real big step in the wrong direction, and they can't, they're on a high ladder on this one.
What about making it available for bonds for a shit ton of bonds, and then
Even so, it would definitely, for example, it would definitely lower the requirements for three marking for people on the stream. The current requirement for three marking a chieftain is 6,000 average damage. So it would definitely lower stuff like that, so more players can three mark it or whatever. But at the end of the day, three marking doesn't really matter to the actual gameplay itself. I feel like a lot of people would probably complain about it, but they wouldn't be so upset at the top players having the tank. They would just be more upset at wargaming, right? Because you usually hear the phrase of like, oh, all these top players playing chieftains. If you add it for bonds and anybody could get it, and more people would just be upset at wargaming than the actual player base that
but
has the tank
what if it
itself.
was like 50,000 bonds?
I mean,
So accessible, but kind of a ridiculous level
yeah,
for the standard
accessible.
player. For the standard
Yeah,
player.
yeah, it would be extremely ridiculous for a standard player. I feel like mostly people would just be like, "Oh, come on, Wargaming, you're just teasing us at this point, right?" Or at least teasing the majority of the standard player base.
But
I
it would
think
be accessible, right? I mean, it would be a goal. You could get there. It'd take a while. You know what
true.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
As opposed to it's behind a competitive wall, which I just for me I can't do that
yeah.
for lots of different reasons.
The thing about it is like a lot of the competitive. So like in the competitive environment, right? I feel like a lot of the top players are very upset because we don't have anything that we use, like, that we can call our own, right?
Right.
Recently, they've been adding a lot more Clan Wars tanks into the Bond Shop, the 121B and
Yeah.
the M60, and Wargaming has rumored that they might, it's not guaranteed, but they might try to be thinking of adding more of those Clan Wars tanks into the Bond Shop. They've been releasing camos to every single player. If you're part of a clan, you play enough in your clan, you can receive previous Clan Wars camos. So there's nothing that's like used to be rare to us, right? The Clan Wars players would, back in the day, they would value their bat chat, with their digi camos and whatnot a lot, because you would see a digi camo, like, oh, that person is at least top 10% in Clan Wars, right?
Yeah.
Now any player can get in 43% win rate and get a digi camo for free, or any person can go to the bond shop and of course after a lot of grinding, it's 15,000 bonds, and get a tank, right? But the only thing that competitive players have now to call their own is basically G badge. That's really it.
So what about this question? It was in chat, and it's something that's been on my mind as well. Is why is it that it's fair to ban the chieftain in ranked but not in pubs? If it's a known problem Why is it okay to stomp puppies with it, but in ranked, by golly, we can't have that?
So I feel like when it comes to ranked, it's more of a band-aid than an actual solution. Right?
I would agree with that.
I mean, if you
okay, so what's the
Chieftain,
solution though? I mean, you know what the solution is, I think, but
I don't. I mean,
well, it has to be nerfed.
No, I agree with that. Yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if, like, for example, let's say you're wargaming, right? You know that, for example, previously, for people who, a lot of people always like blame higher win rate players for, like, oh, they 7 kills, they're ruining the game, et cetera, right? But when they removed WGNA, right, the Wargaming League North America,
Yeah.
that destroyed so much of the competitive nature of World of Tanks, right?
Yeah.
So many, like, almost all of my friends who played in Gold League, all of them quit. Most of them didn't want to play the game anymore because, there was no way of making money for them, right? Other than, doing services and et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people just entirely quit the game, and it destroyed the quality of players in the server, right? So I feel like, if you're Wargaming's point of view and you nerf the Chieftain, a lot of people are going to be upset about that, especially the top players, and then leave the game, which hurts the quality of competitive play. And if you don't do anything, then you're going to hurt the overall player base because it's going to affect the
Right.
the normal everyday Joe.
Yeah.
So I
mean,
definitely no. You go first.
I'm just going to say that the answer that we all know is the right answer, which they won't do because of what you've already touched on. It is to nerf it.
Yeah.
And to some extent, maybe the 279 early, and maybe a little bit on the 907, although they're not nearly as problematic.
Yeah.
Just based on the way the maps are built and the way the game is played, the super hold down tanks with the impenetrable turret action and a very accurate, relatively fast firing gun, that's what the good players want. Because there's so many places to play that kind of game on the maps.
Yeah.
By design, that's how Wargaming has made it, and to some extent that's to the benefit of Russian tanks, and one of the reasons I think why it's a lot like that. And not conspiracy. Oh, it's all about Russian tanks. I'm just saying they just happen to play the best on most of the maps, minus some of the very gun depression centric
maps,
spots.
Yeah.
So
it's actually kind of funny that you brought up the 279E, because in competitive play, the 279E, the reason they buffed the tank was because of competitive play. Like a while ago, they buffed the tank, and everyone was like, "You buffed the 279E. Why would you do this? This tank is already overpowered." And against a tier 8 or a tier 9, of course.
Yeah.
I think in pubs, a 279E is insanely overpowered.
Yeah.
And should definitely be nerfed. But it's funny that in competitive play, if you're fighting against a clan who knows how to fight against a 279E, 279Es so quickly they're dead.
Yeah.
Whenever I play my 279E in competitive play, I feel like I have no armor.
Because everyone's
Yeah, everyone knows how to pen a 279E. Everyone's very familiar against fighting the tank. They just melt right through you. But in pubs, against tier 8s or people who don't know how to pen it, I feel like it's very overpowered.
When you say don't know how to pen it, what do you do?
Honestly, the best thing, for example, 279E is very common on Abbey. It's very easy to camp on Abbey with 279E. There's a lot of positions that help the tank. Heat. Heat is the biggest weakness of the 279E. The 121 buff. The only reason players bring the 121B into competitive is because the heat got such a massive buff, and because of the DPM, that you can just melt a 279E instantly. It's hilarious to watch.
Right. So dabbing too, basically.
Yes, basically.
And you're just shooting into the upper hole.
Yeah, no, lower upper hole. That's
Lower part of the upper hole. Okay.
Yes,
oh, does it change as it goes down? I didn't know that.
No. The armor value doesn't change, but the angle at which the shell hits changes.
Right. So you're not look up at all. You want to be as look down as you can, or
yes,
level.
Yes.
Right.
The more you look down, the less armor value.
Right. So that in taller tanks, face hugging, looking down, that really helps.
Exactly. They just melt right through 279Es. Yeah.
Right.
But Chieftains, they don't. You're not going to go do that with a Chieftain turret. Chieftain in competitive play is still the dominant vehicle of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like all the top players know what needs to happen. Some of them don't want it to happen. I know what needs to happen. I want it to happen. It'll help the environment of the game.
Yeah.
Some people just don't want to let it go, though.
I know. Well, I am sympathetic to the I earned this. It needs to be good. And Wargaming has actually come out, and I'm going to paraphrase what they said, and I'm going to interpret it to what I think it means. They said if the competitive players are going to earn these tanks, 279, Chieftain for Clan Wars, whatever, they deserve to get something good.
Yeah.
Basically, and then the interpretation on everyone else's part is, okay, they are consciously giving the best players the best stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's not exactly what they said, but that's what it turns out to be, But I'm sympathetic to that because if I'm a very very much meritocracy kind of person, if you did that and that was the reward, then okay. But at the same time, exactly what you're saying, it's bad for the game. Running around stomping pubs in your Chieftain, when, by the way, you could do the same thing in your Super Conqueror, just maybe not just quite as much. Because let's
Super
face
Conqueror
it,
actually has a better gun.
yeah, let's face it though, the stats on the Chieftain, granted, it's played by good players, so it's going to be higher, but it is really an outlier.
Yep.
I mean, really an outlier, and we talked about this before, based on the way the maps are built and the game is played. Holy cow, they can be really tough nut to crack.
Yep. I completely agree.
And now we have a nerf on Artie and HE.
Yeah. Competitive artillery has almost completely vanished.
Really?
Yeah.
So how are you going to break those camps that are so hard, or did you not really need them? What do you think?
So for the past it's been about a week or two since the update has happened. There hasn't really been too much of an issue, at least for the high end clans, because high end clans don't really camp as much. Now, I did go and experiment. I legionnaires with a few lower end clans because I wanted to see how it affected, because the gameplay between different levels of clans is extremely different.
Oh, no
right?
kidding.
Like, it's like night and day. The types of calls, the positions, the types of tanks that are brought, it's completely different.
So try to characterize that in general. What's the difference? Are the lower guys campier, or
the lower guys are significantly campier? They bring a lot more HP, a lot more heavier tanks, a lot more slower, less rotations. Higher tier clans, they'll bring very, very fast comps, 15 people talking at once, a lot more focus fire, constant, communication. I sometimes when I'm streaming, I'll get people messaging me like, how do you understand anything? It's because it's a skill you train yourself.
Sure.
Because there's so much action, you're constantly moving. With lower tier clans, it's a lot slower, a lot more quieter, a lot more, hey, let's focus on this one position, we'll get that one position. So when I played lower and played in Legionnaire and tried to see what happened, artillery was a big necessity, right? Those camps for lower end clans, really, artillery was the only thing that could break them. And now with artillery nerfs, a lot of games are ending just up in draws, or an attacking team is just forced to push into a position they can't break, and they just end up in a loss. So it's been lower end clans have been struggling a lot with the new HE and Artie nerfs, and then the higher tier clans they really don't care very much. It's like the competitive format for higher tier is just never HE and Artie dependent.
So that's actually really interesting. So you're saying that the HE and Artie nerf is hurting the lower level guys. They're not able to break.
Yeah, because you'll have you'll go up, especially El Haluf is an extremely campy map, or Ruinberg. You have an entire rage line set up with hulled down E3s, and you're all the way back, 300 meters away with an S-Conk. You're not going to be able to pen that.
Right.
Or they would be very dependent on artillery to be able to break something like that. And now, artillery, of course, artillery can get lucky here and there. Like, I've seen a few artillery pens for 1,000 damage here and there, but in competitive play, you cannot be dependent on luck. You really need to be making sure you have guarantees as much as possible. So it's really been affecting lower tiers quite a bit, or lower level.
Yeah,
competitive.
Yeah. Because would they sometimes just rely on HE spam to hurt you?
Yeah. Which of course, HE wasn't too big of an issue in competitive play. Honestly, HE was a competitive thing. It was used strategically, like, hey, this guy's hauled down, we need to fire HE in order to break his position. It made sense. It was a reasonable tool.
Yeah.
No one had an issue with it. the issue was mostly in pubs, right? 60p players who would just brainlessly drive into the middle, dump HE, 600 damage, 500 damage, easy peasy. Look at me. That was the main issue of HE.
But none of them were ever rocking a 58-60% win rate.
No, they were not.
So
they were just very annoying.
Yeah, I know, but making big changes because someone's annoying a good player, I don't know about that, man. I never understood. I still don't understand the basis for the HE change. I want that articulated in something that makes sense, other than it's just different or it was annoying good players.
The difference between a good player and a bad player is when to take a fight, right? So many people, like for example, I don't know if you've heard the argument of what do I do against a side-scraping 705A now with the HE nerfs, right? Like a side-scraping 705A is almost impenetrable unless you're playing a Yak Panzer firing heat. Like even I agree, like that tank is like you cannot. Right. A lot of players would still contest that vehicle while it's side-scraping. But higher tier players would leave that fight entirely, either go find a new flank, go find somewhere else, or wait till the 705A gets bored and pushes into you, exposing his lower plate and farm.
Yeah, the problem with that, and I do understand that, and I teach that as well. The issue with that is channelized maps and the tank you might be in.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're slow, and which is why good players prioritize speed over a lot of things like armor, potentially. You'd love to have a good turret and speed, but overall it's faster tanks. So you can, as you say, rotate or flex or whatever you want to call it, get out of there and go somewhere else. But other players may be in something, super big, and that was their way of dealing with it.
I recently 3-marked the 60TP, actually. It was before the HE changes. I tried to do I did the entire thing without firing a single shot at HE. But I did understand a lot why players would fire HE in specific situations. I fought a lot against hold down Chieftains, hold down stuff. And I definitely agree. 60p is not very good at rotating, right? You when you're playing a flank, you may not even have an option to go to another flank, right? You may be forced to play a specific area, and you're playing against an opponent who you just can't pen.
Right.
I feel like it's not necessarily the issue with HE, but I think it highlights other issues of the game aspect of how map design actually works, right? I feel like the HE nerfs and the artillery nerfs don't really bring up the issue of like, hey, what is this issue? Why did you do this? It's more of highlighting issues of map design, gameplay design, and how the actual style of play is done.
I would agree with that 100%. Exactly. That was a symptom, not a cause.
Yes.
It was a symptom. And really, for me, I think the real complaint was alpha. Not the mechanic of how the explosion happened. Although there was a complaint for lots of weird critical hits. You could get in a weird place and then a bunch of weird criticals happen. Okay. Yeah. That seemed like something that could be adjusted. And it was really alpha. It sucks to get penned for 900 by a KV2. I got it. Hesh wasn't touched, but actually Hesh was touched. The FVs getting deleted for X amount.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and I am sympathetic to a good player doing all the right angling and side scraping, do what they can, and getting 400 shaved off of them just because some guy aimed in his general direction. Seems to me, though, you could have left the same mechanic and decreased some of the alpha on some of these things on HE, and you would have come away with the same thing.
I would actually agree with you a lot on that. I feel like it would kind of be a balance between... I mean, it would still be annoying for top players, but I feel like it would be a little bit more of a reasonable balance. And when it comes to artillery, I don't know if you've seen the mark requirements for artillery. There's a website called... I don't know... Yeah. They've gone down 1,000. It's the biggest drop in damage mark requirements I have ever seen, ever. Like, there's a lot of the top artillery players on the NA server. They've been bragging like, "Oh, I just 100%ed my Conqueror GC here."
I tested that. I played a tank. I think the M44. I saw it on the forum. Someone's talking about it. I did a little bit of arty just to kind of test what was going on, but I hadn't really touched the rest of them. And I saw that, and I said, well, let me find out. And I was at 64%, whatever. I played one game and jumped up like 78. I mean, it was like a 14% jump in one mediocre game.
Yep. So
all right, so let's talk about that a little bit, though. So those we're calling them nerfs. Wargaming articulates it as changes, and that it's making the class more tactical. Do you think that the nerf that happened, because I think we can agree that it was a nerf. If you don't agree, then explain your answer.
I agree.
Was that intentional or a byproduct of a bad change or a failed change?
There is actually it divides artillery into two different classes now, right? There is the standard artillery player who would just load one type of shell, constantly fire that one type of shell, and just do his damage, right? I've actually seen a lot of the for example, cracks artillery players. We have about 4 or 5 players that only play artillery, especially in competitive play. All they do is just play artillery. They, when I constantly ask them, how do you feel about these new artillery changes, they're actually relatively okay with them because, they constantly are moving around the map. They're constantly switching shells. They can still average their, 3K, 4K damage games perfectly fine, right? I feel like it is more a nerf on the players who just, stayed in one spot, fired one shell, moved around the map just to get a better angle type of players. You really have to put a lot more effort into learning, better positioning, when to rotate, when to move, what type of shell you fire on what target. Because the top players, they're fine with it, but I feel like the average players and the lower players, they got nerfed. That was the nerf on those players, and which I kind of feel like it's not fair. Because if you're going to do a nerf like that, you have to at least go more in detail to be able to bring those average players or those worst players understanding how to play the class now, because it's changed entirely, right? You need to relearn so much different things.
Yeah.
And rememorize what shell to fire, what tank when to fire, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm surprised that they say they can still get the same damage. I'm betting it's somewhat less. I just can't see how they can maintain.
There is one player named Tedster. He's one of the best artillery players in NA server. He actually says that he's struggling on getting the same amount of damage. He says that he's personally.
I bet they're not as big a drop as the average or bad player. I would agree with that, but
a lot of when it comes to at least marks, they're very dependent on assistance, right?
Yeah.
Like at that point, if you're going to 3-mark a tank right now, or if you're going to 3-mark an artillery piece right now, you have to be very dependent on assistance. You have to rely on your team a lot. When it comes to like raw damage, it really depends on your tank. Honestly, in competitive play, it used to be the CGC as the only tank that was played. Now, the 261. The fact that it can rotate and the fact that it has good AP is the reason why it's in competitive play now.
And it's accurate enough to get the shell close. Exactly. So yes, the shell damage is down, but you need to hit pretty close now to do decent damage.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Like, as a player, I don't play artillery. I only 3-mark tanks. I do competitive. That's it. Right. For me, from my point of view, I'm very happy on the changes. Right. I've had so many scenarios where I can't do anything because I'm getting focused by 3 artillery.
Right.
But I do understand that I feel like for an average artillery player, this was kind of harsh, right? This was a very, very big nerf. Personally, I don't think it was the issue of how artillery worked in the past. I think it was the issue of the amount of artillery.
Correct. I think
3 arty per game was really bad because if you get focused by 3 arty, there's nothing you can do. You just die.
Oh yeah, I complain about that all the time.
If they lowered the amount of artillery, the artillery player itself has more damage to farm, more time to farm that damage. He doesn't have to compete against the other artillery for stun.
Yeah.
You could still keep the same type of HE, so the artillery player is happy. The tank that's getting shot by artillery is not getting focused by 3 different tanks at the same time. He's, relatively happy. I mean, he did just get shot, but,
Well, it goes back to, and it's a great illustration, I think, of what you're talking about the original sin of artillery in a player versus player game vis-a-vis game design is that you're giving one human player the opportunity to affect another human player with near zero danger to their unit.
Yep. Yep.
And that's like the original sin of PvP gameplay. That's fine for fighting bots, or you're doing your campaign on your 1v, you're doing some Call of Duty campaign and the bots are firing artillery. But when you're talking humans versus humans, you're trying to do PvP and allowing one person to schwack another one constantly from near immunity, that's terrible game design.
Yeah, it's not the tank itself. It's just the general idea of how damage is dealt.
Right.
Is the main issue.
And I've often said it could do 1 damage a shot, and it would still be annoying that guy's able to do that.
I couldn't say it any better myself.
And that's been interesting because they've done that. They've brought it really down. And now that the dust is settled, I'm still annoyed by being hit by a guy from the red line. Now, like you said, it's not as bad. I got that. But I'll tell you what, I'm still getting nuked by M44s on the run in my light tanks. Low hit points, trying to make something happen, trying to make a move, and I'm getting deleted. I got hit full in the run by a S51, like the most inaccurate arty of all time, simply because RNG went there, and it happened to be on my tank.
Yep.
So it's better, I will admit. It's better in terms of what you said, that if you're being focused, it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. It doesn't address the core issue. It's just a Band-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually how it is, right? The problem happened such a long time ago of, the concept of how damage is dealt, and this entire time they've just been trying to put Band-Aids and just hope one of them is going to stick, and then they, go to the next one. So. But
I have to say, because some of the community that is around my channel like artillery and do that, and older players with access issues, disability stuff, I got it, man. And they've invested a lot of time. They've invested as much time as us in a lot of respects. And we can say, well, dirty clicker or whatever, and that's fine. But that doesn't change the fact that they had something in the game that they liked doing. And I will say that it is my opinion, these two changes, the HE and the RD, will be a net negative for Wargaming's community as numbers. Is it going to make the game die? No, that's not what I'm saying. They're going to lose more players from this than they will gain. People keep saying, "Oh, we're going to get a bunch of players back," because RD's still doing what it does. HE still kind of does what it did. It's just the amount of it really that they changed. And I don't think you're going to bring back scores of good players who left because of those things. But you will lose some RD mains and people who were average to bad, and that's all they had.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
I do agree with that, especially for, like, again, both pubs and competitive for lower tier clans. I do fully agree with that. There's been a lot of people complaining about that in competitive and both in pubs.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's been an issue, but I'm kind of, I mean, in the past few years, it's usually like one or 2 years before a major artillery change comes in. So I wonder what Wargaming will be planning for the future, if they are planning anything, what they're thinking of doing. But I'll be pretty interested to see.
I'm with you. I would have loved them to go, all right, one per. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say this out loud. I would have not been bothered by an accuracy buff, a slight damage nerf with the same splash, and only one per team. Meaning that one guy could be more regularly effective in where he was attempting to support, but there weren't 3 of them going.
Yep. The only thing I would say note is to the M44, the reload nerf.
Oh, just burn it to the ground, please.
Just please reload nerf. It is the most played tank on NA server. It is just, as long as you can do that, I'm 100% okay with that. Just fix the M44 first, and then do whatever you want. Please.
I've been doing a lot of tier 6 because I've been doing that 100 battle challenge. So for a long time I hadn't played a whole lot of tier 6, but I'm bringing a lot of tier 6s up to 100 battles. So I've been trolling around at tier 6, and to some extent I feel bad. It's a bit of seal clubbing. I mean, I am not at your level. I'm very good. I'm not elite, but at tier 6 I can do some damage down there on occasion. And but yeah, the 3 M44 thing. Every time you load in, you're like, oh, it's 2 M44s and a Su-8, or against 3 M44s. Or God bless.
Yeah,
it's insane. All right, so we had another discussion before, and we were talking a little bit about cheating and there's a couple things going on here that I thought was interesting. You guys, I don't know if you saw is it Ayuksen? I'm not sure how you say it, but it's Ayuksen,
yes.
Who is a EU streamer, and he put out a video about being addicted to the game, which actually moved into some other interesting things I didn't know about, although I think Oranjo Man knew about it as well based on our discussion, that he was doing a little bit of boosting, account boosting. And then we kind of moved into discussing the competitive stuff, and something I didn't really. I think it's always been a conspiracy thing, and we've talked about it. But you kind of corroborated that people will actually pay to get chieftains.
Yeah.
And what was the price you told me?
So normally the highest price, like the highest that I've ever seen, is 500. Most of the time it would go between 250 to 300, 350. That is usually like the average price that some players would pay for a chieftain. I've only ever seen one person get it for $25, and it was like the guy owed him a lot of, it was like, I was a big IOU. So that was the cheapest chieftain I've ever seen, was $25.
The cheapest chieftain went for 25.
Yeah, but
was it rusty and missing some tracks? It was a fixer-upper.
It didn't even have an engine, basically. it was just a shell. But
what Wayne says, sold.
But yeah, no, there has been. Now, before I make this statement, right, I do want to make sure, because a lot of people, when they hear this, right, a lot of people will go screaming like, "Oh my God, all these chieftains, everyone bought them."
Yeah, Tail Wagon and burn them to the ground. They're a heretic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Out of an average of 2,200 players that get a chieftain every single campaign, or out of 2,000, not even a chieftain, right? You have the option of multiple tanks.
Right.
Out of the players who get a Clan Wars Reward vehicle, on average, about 80 to 90 of them are actually purchased. So not a majority of them are purchased, right? There is. I've still seen 800 win A players, 1,000 win A players get a chieftain completely legitimately. Like, there's players that easily get a chieftain. Majority of them are not purchased, but there has been quite a few, around to 80 to 90, who have been purchasing tanks from top clans, or just like saying like, "Hey, come play my account. Let me get a chieftain," et cetera, et cetera.
Do you have to make sure you look under the cover and make sure it's not a T95 chieftain?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Here's your chieftain. No, not that chieftain. What about 279 earlies? Do you think people buy those as well, as far as having people?
Oh, that is a different story. That is a very hot market right now.
Really?
Yes. If you go on eBay, you type in 279E or World of Tanks 279E, $300 easily. And I managed to speak with one of the people who was behind it, and I figured out how they did it.
All right, how do they do it? That was my next question. How do they do it?
They get, so you do the payment, right? You give the person the money. One person gets in your account, right?
Okay, yep.
That person has a team, right?
Yep.
What they'll do is, it's usually around 6 players. They'll get into one platoon, three guys, with one of the person with having the account that you paid money for. The other team has another 3 players. They're both working together. Usually either play on the very early morning or go on SA.
Yeah, so
right,
rigging it and count-ins, yeah.
They're rigging each mission. They're doing it one at a time. Sometimes when I'm playing it like 4 or 5, because I'm usually awake at this time.
Yeah.
Right. I'll see a few of them. And I kind of just like I like to come and just ruin their day by killing all 3 of them before their teammates before they can finish rigging or whatever. But like I had a game where this guy in a 277 was just sitting at a corner. 3 guys were hitting the cheeks just for the blocking mission.
Yeah.
And all I did was I came in and I sat, just trying to farm damage off the 3 guys who were just focusing on the blocking mission. I got almost 8k damage that game because they were so focused on rigging the mission than, me killing them. So it's just like, I ruined his mission. I got my damage, win-win in my book, right?
Yeah.
But 279E rigging has been a pretty significant issue. It's been more of an issue on EU than NA. But it's still a pretty big issue, at least in my books. I do not like. I know there's a lot of players that are like, "Man, I really want a 279E. It's worth $300. Let me just do it." It's not worth it. I guarantee you it's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll enjoy your first 30 games, and you'll be like, I regret this purchase.
Well, I mean, I took years and years to get my stupid 260, and I'm still struggling to get a 2. As good as I am, I'm still struggling to get a 279 early. I mean, it's some of those things. I look at those missions, and I go, I don't do 3 of those in 500 games. Never mind 3 in 10 games.
Yeah,
and it is definitely those are missions you definitely have to think about and plan out and set up your tank to make it as try hard as you can. And I don't mean try hard in a negative way. I mean just put every advantage you can on the dang tank and your crew and get ready to try to, like, your sole focus is to figure out how to do those missions. Almost every other mission you can kind of just let happen, really. Yeah. To be honest, but the 279 early, they require some doing, man.
Yeah. I mean, things like the 279 ranked payments, chieftain payments, stuff like that. I mean, right now in ranked, you can go and
why would you pay for ranked? What do you get out of that? Why would you pay someone for ranked?
Gold badge. That's it.
That's it.
That's all you get.
Right.
You get a little badge next to your name, and you go to your friends in your clan and be like, "Hey guys, I have a gold badge," and that's it. That's all you get.
That's the one I can't quite comprehend.
I don't get. I mean,
the 279, you have a tank. I got it. The chieftain, you have a tank. I got it. The ranked one, I can't figure out.
The number 4 player in ranked right now is a 47% win rate player with like 4K PR. The people that are next to him, like the people below and above,
12,000 PR to 11,000 PR.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Like they're all some of the top players, and there's this one 4K PR player in the middle. Like, hey guys, I'm number 4 on the server. Yeah, it's just bragging rights at that point.
The reactor, how you doing? Good morning, man. You're off to work? Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that one blew my mind, to be honest.
Yeah.
For a badge, that's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. I mean, you get, like, to be fair, this is a test ranked season. Right. So it's like, there's no, like, major tanks they're adding to the game. It's just, like, the Bond Turbo, which is actually a really big thing, but...
yeah, actually, I saw the numbers on that. I didn't pay attention to it, but apparently it's twice as good as the regular one.
Yep. And it's gonna change the entire competitive scene. Bond Turbo Chieftains, Bond Turbo 907s, Bond Turbo CS.
Because getting there first is important.
Yeah, it's huge.
Probably more important than what? A vert stab or the vents or whatever else it is. What would you be using?
So in our clan, it's a requirement that you have to drop vert stabs for Bond Turbo when it comes out for campaign.
So you'll be running what?
It's going to be Bond Gun Rammer.
Okay.
HP, Bond Turbo. HP on the first slot.
HP. You mean the hardening?
The hardening.
Really?
Hardening, sorry.
Really?
Yes. That if you have 12 chieftains, each of them with hardening, that's an extra 2 tanks in the fight of HP worth.
They're accurate enough that it doesn't really matter, does it?
Not necessarily accurate enough. The chieftain gun is actually not as good as people think it to be.
Really?
Like usually when you're in it's not bad, but it's not like Leopard 1 or S-Conk. S-Conk gun is 10 times better.
But you're willing to give that up for the hit points.
Exactly, because you're also taking in mind, since you're having Bond Turbo as well, you're going to get a lot closer, a lot faster. So usually you're going to be playing a ridgeline fight against another opponent. So you want to make sure that you're just getting there first, and you'll have a huge advantage, even if you have an accuracy disadvantage.
So let me ask you this, though. That's like a projected thing. Do you think it will pan out? Will it be as important as that?
Well, it's already happening now, right? Like it's already a meta to use Turbo on your Chieftain right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like that's already a thing now. Like,
okay.
For example,
so it's just a better Turbo. So yeah, you're going to put that on there.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's just a better Turbo. It's just going to be used more, right? Like most of the Chieftains, especially in Cracked or Give Up, they use already Bond Turbo, or not, sorry, normal Turbo. There's no Bond Turbo yet.
Yeah.
It's a race to who gets to the best position first.
So it's just like a constant arms race and competitive.
Yeah.
So people are compelled to do rank just to get the stupid reward, so they can continue to be competitive in their clan. Yep.
And I've seen a lot of players who just haven't. They take a 3-week, a month break, and they come back and they realize, like, oh wait, I'm not part of the A team anymore. What is this? It's because they fell behind, right? They didn't grind for the new thing. They didn't practice or something. So they just fell off the top team.
Yeah.
They'll go back to B or C team and have to grind it again.
So the other part of that conversation I talked about earlier was Ayuksen talking about his kind of journey. He did a video recently talking about being addicted to the game. It's in the forums. I could probably find the link here in a minute. But what I thought was more interesting about it, and we discussed, was about middle of the video, he starts talking about how he was doing boosting. So he was taking people's accounts and boosting them for credits or tanks or whatever you would grind for, basically. Yeah. People would say, I'll give you X money for this amount of gold or silver or whatever. And he would do that. I thought that was more interesting, quite frankly, than the addiction thing. The addiction thing, I get it. He was a college student, and he got off track. Noted, they're in the forum. Just as a small sidebar, there's people, addiction. I spend too much on whatever. Some of them are retired guys. I'm like, bro, you spend 3 or 4 hours playing a game. You're retired, whatever. Some people spend 5 or 6 hours on the golf course every day. Are they addicted? Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, his thing was boosting, and I'm like, that's kind of crappy and whatever. And your contention is that that's not really a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily say it's not a bad thing, right? Like don't get me wrong, it's not healthy when it comes to the sense of rewards if it's a vehicle, right? I disagree with people like paying someone for or boosting to get a chieftain or get a higher ranked because then it just hurts everybody else. That I disagree with, right? For the most part, though, there is if people are willing to pay money, there's going to be an economy for it, right? And there has developed an economy.
Valid, yeah.
Like even if wargaming deems it to be legal or illegal, there's going to be an economy for it. If it was simple as just putting it as illegal, I feel like a lot of issues in real life would be solved quite quickly. Yeah. But as long as people are willing to pay money, people are going to keep on doing it. And the only way to really stop it is... Actually, I don't know a way to stop it.
Yeah, I don't think there is. The only way you do is you smash if the mole comes up and it's obviously the cheating mole, you smash it.
Yeah, and which that has happened. If you can, if you know to the only way that wargaming can sufficiently ban someone firmly is if they know that there's a transaction that's done from one player to another. If you go to wargaming and say hey, this person, it's obvious someone's playing his account. Look at his stats from the past week, going from 1K win rate to 4K win rate. It's ridiculous. How is this able to happen? Legally, they're not going to do anything, right? But if you can confirm, hey, this person just did a transaction of $150 to this guy to grind for these stats, and here's the stats, and this is the transaction, then wargaming can take action, right? If there's a transaction that has been confirmed, they can suddenly take action.
And that's actually fairly time and personnel intensive to track all that stuff down, especially if they're not given very good evidence to start with.
Exactly.
Which means that generally, time cost analysis is they're not going to bother too much unless it's very, very obvious.
Yeah.
And we have seen it in the past where they've, somebody's streaming and then somebody puts it on the forum and a couple CCs talk about it, it explodes, and then that all of a sudden that account's gone and they caught that guy and got rid of him.
Yeah.
But generally, I think it happens in the background, like you said, with getting chieftains, getting 279 earlies, grinding for credits and stuff. But I thought it was interesting that he admitted to it. And then furthermore on that, I guess that's why he's not in a UCC. You seem to have some essay on that as well. That they know that or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wargaming already knew that because what happened was that he said that once in his previous streams. And Wargaming was watching it, and they were like, "Oh, well, we were gonna put you as a CC, but you really did break our TOS, so we are not gonna do that."
I wonder if this video is something about trying to set the table for forgiveness.
It could be.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to have Ayuxin as a guest on my own stream. It was really random. He kind of just walked into the stream and was like, "Yo, let's get on Discord, let's talk right now." And I was like, "Okay." But he actually did ask quite a few questions of "Hey, how do I become a CC?"
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting to talk to him about that. I don't know if that's specifically what he's doing, so I'm not gonna really say "Oh yes, this is exactly what he's doing."
Oh yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that it's it might be a little bit of it.
Well, don't get me wrong. None of this is bashing him.
Of course not. Of course.
I personally, other than the tank thing, I don't really care, I guess. And I guess that's talking out both sides of my mouth, because on the one hand, it's okay if he grinds tech tree tanks and credits, but by golly, I don't want him to grind a chieftain. But then it goes back to what we said. The real issue is that it's an overpowered tank. We wouldn't have this conversation if it was an overpowered tank.
Yeah,
nobody would give a damn.
Exactly.
If someone's saying, "Hey, I'm grinding this guy an M60," everyone would be like, "Okay, good luck, and enjoy yourself." So
20 bucks.
Yeah.
Anyone want an M60? $20.
This is an M48. Yeah. So I wish him luck. The addiction thing, hopefully if that's what he thinks going on, he can handle that or whatever. But it was an interesting story. I watched the whole thing. I thought it was kind of fascinating to hear his backstory, his history. Just a kid off a farm or whatever, dirt poor, going to university. I don't know how much of that is 100% true or whatever, but he says he didn't have a computer when he was younger, and then he was playing on a friend's computer, and then some people gave him some better upgrades for his computer, and so it was a cool story actually. So I wish the guy luck. I think it's spelled like this. They're Stickler. I Pukesen. That's not it. It's a U. He streams. Oh my god! I can't even freaking do it.
I can do you one better, and I can give you his link.
Yeah, do that
for his Twitch right there. That is Ayuxin stream.
Hold on. Let me give you mod, and then you can put it in. Give me just 1 second.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Now you can put a link in.
Should that work? I don't know if I have to refresh my screen. Probably.
God dang it. Yes, it did. Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Yep.
If you need to take away mod, I don't want to. I
don't care. No, I love reasonable people. I'm fine with reasonable people being a mod, because every once in a while someone comes in and they disappear.
Would you like to purchase followers for Twitch?
I want to be famous.
Yes, exactly. Totally.
With all the different letters and shit going on.
Yeah. Yep.
So that I thought those were all interesting. So let's go to the last one that we talked about.
All right.
Which was the video of the guy streaming on Facebook. Somebody else made a video of it. It's called Cheating in 2021. And I'm going to put this link down for everybody. Did you end up looking at that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I even watched the video and everything. I was looking through the video and whatnot. Actually, I did find out something very interesting in the video.
Yeah.
Because the replays are relatively old. If you look in the video, there's these green arrows that are pointing up, which those are bonus equipment that you used in the previous Clan Wars, which was about 6 months ago. 6 months.
Oh, really?
So technically, those replays are significantly old, but it's still valid. Like it doesn't say it's old. It doesn't mean that it's applied to now. I still deem it highly valid.
Well, I think what he did is he saw this guy and then he started digging through his VODs. Would be my guess to find all the different examples of it. Yeah, because I think some of the replays are fairly recent. Monkeysaurus Rex. I've seen that name actually. I'm not.
Monkeysaurus Rex is a caller for Teach, and he's also been in clans like Give Up. He's a very it's a known name in top tier competitive play. So he's been seen a lot.
Yep. So he put that video out, and I think we've all known that those things are around, but the discussion then becomes interesting because it's all right. He's got an aimbot of some kind. Does it make him a great player?
No. It's that's as simple as that. This game is not an aim-based game.
Would you use that bot if it was legal?
No.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not aim-based. There's so like if you're playing, for example, Call of Duty, right? How much time do you have to aim, fire your shot, kill the other opponent, go to the next opponent, right? You have about sometimes like 5 seconds max, right?
Yeah.
Maximum, right? Most of the time, an engagement will last less than a second or two, right?
Yeah.
Aimbot in that scenario helps 10 times as much, right? If you can click on that target in less than a millisecond and already be firing your shot while he's trying to still aim you in less than a second, that is such a massive advantage. In this game, it takes 7 seconds to reload. It takes 1 second to aim in. It takes, an extra second to be able to like figure out where the tank is, aim at the weak spot. You'll fire. RNG applies, which is calculated by the server, not by the computer, not by your own client, right? So you cannot control, no matter what cheats you have, you can't control where the shell goes. So it's like, it would honestly be a disadvantage because even some of the shots that the aimbot was firing.
This is what I was. Yeah, this is exactly what my next point was going to be. Exactly right. There are situations where that aimbot's going to go to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't know what the tactical situation is. It has a hierarchy of what it tries to get to based on angles and range and all the things that do you always want it trying to track? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
And
it's like, it's funny because like, a lot of the people that you see that use these cheats aren't the best players. They're like the mid-tier or lower-tier clans.
Almost always.
Because it's like a person gets into their head like, oh, I want to be good too, right? They must use these cheats, and they install them, and they're like, look at me, guys. And in reality, they're not using proper tactics. They're not positioning their tank well. They're just focusing only on the aim. They'll do 1,000 damage and be like, I did it, and then they'll just die in competitive scenes. So.
Well, I will say, there are situations where it would be an advantage. The one shot that in that video where he sniped the hatch of, I think, a Chieftain or some such thing, or a Super Conqueror. But I think that was
RNG.
It is, but it did put the pipper on it.
True, that is very true.
Right? I mean, it was aiming at that point, and then yes, that was a very. I mean, a human putting it on there, you had the same chances, I think. But it got there quickly, and he didn't have to do anything. He just
exactly
randomly,
it's
auto
a
lock.
lot lazier.
Exactly. So there is a small advantage there, but in general, good players. And I remember this distinctly when I started playing, 10 years ago. It was probably 2 years before I really. I was 2 years in 10,000 battles before I even knew there were stats. No shit. I didn't know there were stats.
15,000 games for me. So
there you go. No idea. I had a vague knowledge. So I was looking at it one day. I'm like, why am I 48%? I felt like I won half my battles. I felt like, I'm doing okay. I win about half my battles. And that was actually true because I had 2% of frickin' draws. But anyway, then I got interested. And then I started paying attention to good players. And I'd be like, he's cheating. How is he doing that? Right? How am I getting beat? Like, how is he always there in the right place and I'm not? And then I started looking into it, and then I started to realize that because I'm out of position, because I'm shooting the wrong spot on the tank, because I'm not reacting, because I'm pushing cap after I win a flank mindlessly without considering the rest of the fight. All of the things that go into being a good player. But I do distinctly remember thinking that most of these good players were cheating somehow.
Yeah. When I my first 15,000 games, I had 200 win rate and like 3 KPR. I'm not even joking. Like, I went from 2K win rate, and the highest win rate I ever had was 5.2. That was my highest recent win rate. Yeah. Right. And when I was at that 2K win rate point, I genuinely thought that people at 1,000 win rate, I thought they were cheating. I was like, sorry, not 2K win, 200 win rate. My apologies.
Yeah.
I was at 200 win rate, and I genuinely thought that people who had 1,000 win rate were like, how is this possible? How are you doing 2,000 damage in your tier 10? This is not realistic, right?
Yeah, 2,000.
Yeah, like I was back in the day when I was a lot younger. I genuinely thought this game was like either rigged or just like everyone was cheating. Right?
All right. Let's pivot just a little bit because I'm curious about this from you. You said you got 5.2 win.
That was my highest.
Yeah,
highest win at tier 10.
But how do you do that? When you're thinking I want to get as high a win rate as possible, do you stick to certain tanks? Do you use the best like purple equipment? Do you have a lot of gold loadout? What I think people call try hard. What I call is using all the advantages. Is that how you go about it?
No, not at first. Right. It was actually like. So first of all, I'm speaking about recents, right? This is the past 1,000 battles.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. A lot of people, what they'll do is like they'll play lower tiers, and they're like, "Oh, hey, look at me, my stats."
Yeah, that's easy to see. Yeah.
Top clans will not like. You have to have good stats at tier 10.
Right.
Right. The best thing to do is learning the positions in the first place. The only reason I was able to do that was because I played a lot of competitive, or I started to play a lot of competitive, and I was very lucky with the group I was. They were willing to teach me. They were willing to tell me this spot's better, right? The other thing I spent a lot of time, kills. Kills are a multiplier for winning, right? If you do 4,000 damage with 0 kills, that's 3K winning. If you do 4,000 damage, the exact same tank, the exact same amount of damage with 2 kills, your win rate. It's not exactly like times 2, right? It's like I think it's like 0.3 or 0.7 or something like that, depending on the amount of kills that you get. It's still, that's a huge addition to your win rate.
Yeah.
Right? You can go from 3,000 win rate to 8,000 win rate just with 1 kill.
Wow.
Which is insane, right? So
I
focusing a lot on getting kills, right? Confirming those kills is really, really big when you're win rate grinding. Also, I didn't play the best tanks. The only reason I got 5K win rate was I played the T110E5 when it was bad.
Yeah.
Because usually tanks that have worse stats or like worse averages, if you do really good in them, that's higher win rate. Right.
Okay, but talk about your loadout though. Do you run purple equipment and?
When I was 3-marking the E5 when I had my highest stats. I did no purple equipment, but I did fire all heat.
Yeah.
Like it was just all heat.
Yeah.
I never run fire extinguishers on any of my tanks. I always run food because I'm maximizing DPM, view range, and mobility is not really too much, but just like a slight little bit.
Do you train fire?
Yes. Fire. I use all crew with fire and repairs, and then also with the fire. I forgot it begins with a D.
Directive.
Thank you. So that's usually what I do.
But you're talking a 6 or 7 skill crew, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have almost 50,000 battles, right?
Yeah.
So it's like most of my crews are between 4 and 6 skill crews.
Yeah.
And that goes into an entirely other subject that would be like the whole crew training and the whole crew skill and how it should be worked. But honestly, crews are some of the most important things in the game. Like you have to train your crews as much as possible because the advantages that they can give are pretty big. Like they're substantially big.
Yeah. There's 3 or 4 skills you have to have.
Yeah. Brothers in Arms, bestly the best.
Yeah. And then when you dump food on top of that, those are 2 of the biggest, and vents, if you use vents on that particular tank, those are massive advantages. Especially once you put them all together, that's a big boost.
Yeah. But the biggest thing, right, that I tell every single person on my stream when they come onto my stream, they're like, hey, how do I get 4K 5K win rate? How do I do it? Patience. I see so many people, they get on, they have they play 2 or 3 games and they're just having a horrible time, and they're like, I'll play 2 or 3 more, I'll fix my win rate, everything will be fine. They'll end up playing 10 games with horrible win rate and they'll beat themselves up over it. Anger is the worst thing for grinding 3 marks, grinding stats, grinding anything.
Oh yeah.
Anger will always put you down.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You have to be calm. A calm head can think a lot clearer in the battle than when you're like, oh, you're so pissed off, right?
Yep. I tell people the same thing. But when you get into a 1v2, it's not anger. It's panicking. It's and don't worry about it. First of all, it's a pixel tank game, so don't get so stressed.
Yeah.
Number 2, focus on the one problem at a time. Take that one problem out and move on. But don't panic. You see people panic when 2 or 3 tanks come at them. Their turrets going in multiple directions. They never even take a shot. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The same thing. Don't play when you're mad. Really, ultimately, don't play when you're tired. If you're really trying to maximize, players run the gamut. Some people just don't give a crap, and that's fine. They want to bomb around in pubs, shoot a couple shots, and go back to garage. It's whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, like you're saying, somebody comes in and they want to be a 4,000 or 5,000 K 1-8 person, you've got to maximize everything to include yourself. I mean, you got to be ready. You got to be on top of your game. And if it ain't working, then don't press what ain't working.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, literally, before you go into battle, before you set up all your crew, and before you set up all your equipment, you gotta set up yourself first.
Yeah. Yep.
But
and if Go ahead.
The final thing I was gonna say is like the one of the biggest things is like I see a lot of people making like these really big expectations of themselves, like, oh, I want to go from 1,000 win rate to 3K in like this month. No, little steps. Little steps. It relaxes your head. It doesn't stress you out. It keeps you focused on those little small goals. It rewards you more. You don't go from 350 pounds to having abs in a month, right? You got to be realistic.
Are you sure?
Well, have you? Have I? I mean,
every month I go back and forth. You just don't see the abs part.
Yeah, true, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
no, you're 100%. And I think the other important part on that is, and since I coach a lot of mid-level guys, mid to new, not as good guys, the big piece is we're not here to make you 3K or 4K. We're here to make you better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
You may get there. Everyone has a ceiling. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has a ceiling, and it's fine to go, well, you can be anything you want to be in life. Okay, yeah, I get that on a macro, on a big scale. But really, today you're here. Let's get you here, and then here, and we'll see where it goes. And as you get better, it's no longer one of these leaps. It's one of these leaps. The difference between 4,000 and 5,000, that's hard. That is a big leap that doesn't move very far, essentially. At the top level of skill of whatever it is, getting better is harder and harder as you go. It just is.
Yeah, because you're pushing yourself more and more for each little thing of win rate, trying to maximize yourself as much as possible in each game.
From like 1,000 win rate to 3,000, you can kind of calculate it's one more shot for X amount of win rate. When you get to 3,000 above, it's harder and harder.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you start talking about I'm a 4,000 win rate player and I need to find one more shot per game to get to 5, that's big because you're already putting a lot of shots down range.
Yeah, you're pushing it at that point. So
/ assist, which is bigger than people think.
Definitely, yeah.
Steel Guts, how you doing, man? Another one of the CCs. Steel Guts is here, and I thought I saw for free just a minute ago.
Yeah, I saw him earlier. I also saw Pig around here.
Yeah, Pig was in here as well.
Yeah.
Steel Guts, why do I not have a shout out for you? I think I have for free. There we go. I got for free. What did I put you in as? Steel Guts or just Guts or what was it, man? I don't know. There it is. I put you in as Steel Guts. Check out their streams, guys. Both great streamers. Yeah, Pig's in the house as well. Well, that's good, man. I appreciate all that. You got any other subjects? What about out in the peanut gallery? You guys got any questions for Ronjo, man? Pig didn't get his first tier 10 until 19,000 battles.
Yeah, I back in the day, like those Lerva players that would have like 10,000 games in their tank and they would do like one shot of damage. Yeah. That was me. That was me. I bought my first tier premium when I had a tier 3 and I was like, wow, I did 400 damage this game. I'm one of the best,
Michaela has a question. Did you ever re-roll your account or just fix it by playing a lot more?
Whenever I play any competitive thing, and you'll see all the PRs of all the players, it's 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 11,000, 7,000. Like, that's me. Because I have so many bad games when I first started playing this game. I'm always the bottom in PR, right? So I did not re-roll, and I'm still trying to fix my stats from my past, right?
Do you really care, though? It's recents, right?
It's mostly recents, right? Like, my recent PR is like it's currently like 10,600 something right now, right? My recent win rate is like, actually I haven't checked my recent, it's like 3,700 around there, right?
But you'd like to get the overalls up too. That's always a goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of embarrassing, you walk into a room and it was like, oh, look at the little PR man, So it's it's sometimes a little bit embarrassing, but at the same time, recents are significantly more important. But no, I've grinded. My current goal is to get every single tank in the entire game. I currently own every single premium tank, every single campaign reward vehicle, like all of it. I currently have 652 tanks in my garage. I want to buy every single tech tree tank, so I don't have any intention of re-rolling both stats or making a new.
That's the same. I have 641 tanks. We got all the tech tree.
Ooh.
I had every tech tree in the garage, but I sold some already a while back to get some cash on. the craziness of the black market. I'll eventually buy them back, but I have every tank in the garage, every tech tree tank in my garage. Yeah. I'm missing the reward tanks. I'm one of the dirty people who bought the M60 and 121 out of bonds. I actually appreciate being able to get it that way because I'm just not going to do the organized thing. Because I don't play that time of night. But there you have it.
Yeah.
I was probably, I want to say I didn't hit 50% until I was 15 to 20,000 games into it. So I have a 58%. It's, I've kind of peaked right there as far as that goes. But I also don't, it sounds like an excuse. I'm not going to make it. Anyway, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses. So Michaela says, played 7K, 6 years, stopped playing. Well, that's the thing, man. I think it's making yourself better than you are today. Just look at it that way. Don't worry about your overalls and all that stuff. What are your reasons? How are you playing today? That should be your enjoyment.
Yeah.
Of am I getting better as I go? That's for me. That's the cool thing.
Yeah. Even in my stream, I always say like you could be at 44% win rate and still 3-mark a tank, and I wouldn't go to you and be like, if you genuinely like put the time and effort, put the time in focusing on like how am I doing? Am I getting better? You can. I believe that anybody can 3-mark, even if it's just a tier 6, even if it's just a tier 5. Yeah. Like if you can put in your head, like say, hey, at least I'm getting a little bit better. I'm going up the tiers. I'm doing better every tier I go higher.
Yeah.
I'll give you a pat on the back. I'll say like I'll support you. Like I will support you.
100%. And Propler actually makes a good point, or has a point in what they're saying. It says 46%. I'm so bad. I just play. I have no problem with somebody who just plays. Here's my issue with a 46% player is when they come in and they say, "Game's rigged. I'm better than I am." They're not honest with where they are.
Yep.
I don't care if you're bad. If you're deluded, then we're going to have an issue. You know what I mean?
I agree. I 100% agree.
Because we're all bad. Nobody was born a 65% player. They had to figure out how to play the game. Everyone has to figure out how to play the game. Some are naturally better at it for lots of different reasons. But it's all your own journey, really.
Yep. I completely agree.
Let's see. Gummy Bear says, will playing good at Tier 8 translate into playing good at Tier 10? That's a great question.
No, not necessarily. The playstyle at Tier 8, right, especially if you're fighting against Tier 10s, is a completely different mindset and completely different focus when you're competing with Tier 10. Usually Tier 10, you're top tier or equal tier with other opponents. The speed of the games are a lot different. The tactics, the alpha damage, the amount of HP, everything's a lot different. With Tier 8, you can't really afford to trade as much HP as with Tier 10 because you have a lot more HP to play with, right? So definitely getting good at between Tier 8s and Tier 9, between Tier 8s and Tier 10 is extremely helpful. Like getting the basics down and understanding like, simple concepts or like places that you would like to go to and positions like that. But if you get like, 3K win it at Tier 10, don't expect you'll have 3K win it or if you get 3K win it at Tier 8, don't expect you'll have 3K win it at Tier 10 as well. You have to relearn a lot of, the smaller details once you get to that level. But it does help a lot. It does help.
I find I like Tier 10 less because it's a lot more locked down based on the size of the maps, the vision saturation, the accuracy, the speed of everything, how hard some of the guns hit. You can be deleted at Tier 10 so much faster by making a mistake. I tend to like the slightly more permissive Tier 8 level than Tier 10 because it just for me the game mechanics break down at Tier 10 that makes World of Tanks cool at Tier 6 to 8. I sort of enjoy the slightly slower pace, the more you're able to think a little faster, and I realize Tier 10 guys are thinking. They're obviously doing it faster. I can do okay at Tier 10, but I'm not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't like how things like EBRs, just spastic tanks flying through everywhere. I have a hard time hitting them, reacting to them, all that kind of stuff. Drives me kind of crazy. But it's not just those tanks. Even how accurate most things are at Tier 10. I don't know. It's an interesting thing because on the one hand, you've got all the RNG, and you complain about it, but at tier 10 it's minimized as much as you can get in this game because of the accuracy and everything of the tanks. So I don't know. It's just not my favorite tier, and it may just be because that's not my thing.
Yeah, to me, it's the exact opposite.
Really?
I like it because it's very precise.
Yeah.
Like I can rely more. Like there's less RNG and whatnot.
Yep.
I feel like, to be honest, recently in tier 2, I haven't been enjoying it because there's some times where it's just like I'll do 7-8K damage. Like I had a game last night where I did 10K combined damage. I had 3K spotted, 7K damage dealt in E50M, and we still lost.
And everyone else is less than 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. At that point, as long as I did my part, I'm fine, right? Like, hey, it was a loss. The battle ended quickly. I did my best.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give myself a medal in the fridge. I'm gonna go look at that for a few minutes. But it's like recently tier 10 has been a little bit iffy for me because battles have been going a little bit too quickly, which is a whole other story.
Yeah, that's another coffee talk.
That's a whole nother podcast right there.
It is because that seems to, without getting too far into it, it seems to me that those are increasing a little bit in regularity for lots of different reasons.
I've seen a lot more of those as well.
Yeah, that could get frustrating. Watch Chicks in the House. I put her link down there. Another streamer, fantastic. I'm kind of with you, Steel Guts. 7 and 8 is easier to stream on for me, because I can keep up with chat and interact. The other thing about streaming tier 7s and 8s is that's where a lot of people are who are newer to the game. They're not really hanging out at tier 10. So, but that's why it's cool to have people, have you here with the competitive scene, the top tier kind of guy. There's all those levels in the game, which is what's good about the game. One of the cool things about the game, it is accessible to a large skill group, I guess. Large range of skills, I suppose, is the way to say that.
Yeah. It's you can fit anywhere, right? Depending on what you like, there's a spot for you somewhere.
Again, as long as you're honest with yourself and understand what's up, then perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. More comfortable tier 6, see less. Well, so the tier system. Again, that's a whole nother podcast as well. The tier system is interesting in this game because it hides a lot of stuff and gives accessibility to a lot of stuff. So the idea that I'll be a tier 8 and have some tier 6s to stomp on, I'm not a very good player, that helps them a little bit to be able to kind of handle the fight. It covers up overpowered tanks below tier 10. There's a lot of overpowered tier 8 tanks. They're lost in the noise of the stats because they see 9s and 10s often enough to keep them down.
Yeah.
But they're still overpowered. At tier 10, you don't have that. There's no tier 11 or 12 to stomp down overpowered tier 10 tanks. So they just are overpowered.
The difference is massive between certain tier 10s.
Yep. So if there was a tier 11 and tier 12, we wouldn't really be talking about the Chieftain that much.
Yeah.
Because something else would be stomping on it enough that, yes, it would be a good tier 10, probably one of the top tier 10s, but it would not be such a bane to everybody because something else would be stomping on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The 279 needs 4 sets of wheels, so yeah. Well, it also needs to do 75 kilometers an hour. I mean, it's silly that it's so slow.
Might as well make it fly while you're at it.
It does have that kind of aerodynamic shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So maybe you could just
put a few wings on it.
Yeah, increase the angle of attack. Let it fly over the lake at Lakeville and land right in the middle of everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Valley on Lakeville, good idea?
No. No. I hate when people go there. Because the only options is, I'm going to go in fast cap. Like, you don't get any damage, no fun. Like, great. I either die in the valley because I can't rotate out, or I just win the valley, and then what's the next option? I cap, game over, I have 1,000 damage, whoopee,
Pubs, Lanuru. Let's not muddy the waters. I get it. Sometimes, the valley can be situated. Let's say you have a top tier. You're in a 3-tier battle. You have a 3-man platoon. Your 3-man platoon is top tier, and you've got some good hold down tanks. Yes, you could push valley and wreck. Just right up, and I got it. But at solo play general. So these are solo play questions. Himmelsdorf. Standard, not encounter. We'll talk about encounter in a second. Go to the hill or not?
depends on your tank.
Okay,
If
what do
you're,
you? Go ahead.
if it, like, for example, if you're a tank that has really good DPM, really good gun depression, I would say yes, right? Of course, you have to be fast enough because having the speed advantage.
Okay, so you're in a
Also,
slow heavy. Your
slow
top.
heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively, if you're in a slow heavy, I would assume that you would have enough armor to be able to play lower end or like below the hill because like it takes so much time that either the reason I say speed is because if you know that you're going to lose the hill, you have to get off that hill before you lose it, right? If you want to make sure you keep your tank alive to be able to have more of an impact in the game, you need to leave.
But don't you feel like here's the way I look at that though. I go, I'm just going to go up the hill. When I get there, I'm going to clean up. If it's stagnated and doesn't get started, I'll add my weight to it. If I go down the banana road, tank alley, whatever you want to call it, and the hill loses, I got no options.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I've won down there, but usually that fight takes so long for me to win, unless you've got a complete overmatch. I feel like the time spent going up the hill is better spent than playing peek-a-boom on the banana road.
Again, it depends on so many different factors of like who's on your team, who's not on your team,
Sure,
where the
yeah.
team is going. Personally, for me, a lot of the time, if I'm playing something so heavy that it's just not like, again, I was going back to the 60 DP, I would never go on hill. I have the gun depression for it. I could easily play the hill if I get up there.
Yeah.
By the time I'm halfway up the hill, though, I can see like, oh, they already have 4 tanks up there, and we only have 3, or we only have 2, right?
Yeah.
Even if I get up there, there's no point, right? One of my tanks is half HP.
Yeah.
I would already be too slow to rotate. I basically wasted my time, and I don't have any damage.
Right.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, even if you lose the hill, though, you still have a lot of like. If I know that I'm losing the hill, I know that I have to be aggressive in some other form. Like I need to take some sort of territory for losing one territory, especially in competitive play. In pubs, it's harder to do that, but at least in competitive play, like. Any territory you lose, you need to make up for it by taking.
Yeah. Zimbo says no hill. If enemy wants hill, you catch them coming down, unless your team is from Muppetville. Yeah.
Usually I like punishing people that are coming down the hill, just running around corners and being like, "Hey, look, we won the game," and you just surprise them.
Especially if they've been mauled a little bit. If they took a bit of a mauling up there, they'll be low HP coming around the corner, and you'll be able to knock them down. All right, cool, man. Well, that's been about an hour and 45. Really appreciate you coming by, Ranjo, man. It's been a great discussion. I think that's a lot of stuff that this community doesn't hear a lot of, so that's fantastic, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very thankful that you invited me. It's good to be back on the well, I guess this is the first time, but this is the second time technically.
Yeah, that's the same thing, same channel. Yeah, coffee talks.
Same concept, right?
Yeah,
but
yep.
I really do appreciate having this conversation. It was very nice to meet the new folks in chat. So
yeah, man. So check out Aranjo Man's. Go ahead and throw your link down there for me for your Twitch if you got it. Yeah, check out Aranjo Man's Twitch. He does stream generally give him the time frame. You usually stream.
Yeah, I mostly do like competitive play, like advances in Clan Wars, and then I do a lot of training of how to do 3 marks and stuff like that. And I just like to have fun, make some good laughs, have a good time. At the end of the day, it's a game. If you're not smiling, you're not really playing,
Perfect. Yeah, 100% agree, man. You're supposed to be having fun. I don't know if you know that, but I have my challenges, man. Sometimes I get mad, and my rule now is I just go do something else. I don't hate the game for it. That happens. It has RNG, so you're just gonna get screwed sometimes.
Yeah.
But
it is what it is.
Blame it on yourself and not something else.
Yep.
All right, guys. Appreciate everybody coming by. This is Guido signing off.
This is Orange Man, I guess.
See you guys later.